The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 517. Mr. Somich.
Huzzah! We got real derby odds.
What's that?
We have real derby odds. Did you see that?
No, we have real derby odds. What is it?
Circa put up 202 Kentucky Derby horses this week. And so you can actually bet on this year's Kentucky Derby if you'd like to do that.
Well, that's a thing you can do. It's December 7th. You can bet on the Kentucky Derby. Do we advise that? No. But do we advise you possibly booking that? Yes, if you can do that. Of course, do it legally, but yeah.
I will say this. At least every horse was, I think it was the shortest price was like 20 to 1. But there was a plethora of horses that were 50 to 1 or more. And like a bunch that were over 100 to 1. I think there was only 25 horses under 100 to 1. So at least like you can be like, hey, I really like this horse. I'm going to take a flyer and bet like, 20, 30 bucks and still get a nice little payout on it.
Well, speaking of payouts, not much of a payout if you played the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park today, December 7th. It was the card that we covered back on Monday, and pretty chalky. If it was a place pick 5, Mike, I would have cashed a couple of different times there, but my single having the lead in this stretch and looked like he was going to take off and somehow losing in the opener, I was like, well, this is already a sign not to play this back. So, which was the correct decision. I ran second in every single race today.
Yeah, I probably should have pressed to pick 5. Now that I look back at the sequence, I had the 5 as well. So the 3 ended up re-rallying in that first race. Every other horse that won today was must use. Only one of them was second. One other one was a second pick. So that was definitely a pressable sequence. And guess what? We learned from that mistake. We're talking about the late pick 5 on Saturday here. This one is one of those where I want to focus on, okay, I don't think this is going to pay a lot again, but I want to specifically target some horses I think can help the payout. So I'm just going to play a single press ticket this time to see if we can get that going. You're on mute, Magic.
You're still on mute, Magic.
Sorry, I just realized I was muted there. I was cursing out the fact that Blinker's off is still live right now. The Gulfstream Park odds for Saturday's card just populated 2 minutes before we were supposed to go live, and so we were late this time because I was scrambling to rework my ticket. It was just like, the 2, 3, the top 3 choices in odds-wise were my top 3 horses in the first leg. I can't do that in a $96 ticket, so yeah, there we go. Apparently also, with those effers and goobers over there on Blinkers off, they drew for the fantasy league. We got pick 11, which means we're on the horn. So we got pick 11 and 12, pick 22 and 23. Right? No, that's wrong. 24, whatever it is. I like where we're at because if you can't be first, this is kind of the position you want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize there were 11 teams in this year's league.
You didn't get the memo?
No. Nope, I missed that one.
Yeah,
so
Doc says it's a great start that you don't even know that Doc's in the league.
Well, I assume they kicked someone out. They let everyone in and then added the doctor team.
Yeah. 2 Docs, no balls, I think is what we're going to call them.
Have we talked about how? Well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say.
We'll save it for the text chain. But we've got Gulfstream Park Saturday, December 9th, the late pick 5. Races 7 through 11, a couple of different, actually 3 different 2-year-old races. So plenty of horses that we're going to see kind of as 2-year-olds now get ready for the championship meet as 3-year-olds for those big stakes races. So let's get into it, buddy. Rise up. All right, my first leg of the Gulfstream Park late pick 5 on Saturday, December 9th, race 7 has 8 2-year-old males running a 1-turn mile on the dirt at the N1X allowance level, and there's a good chance, Mike, that we see multiple horses come out of this race and appear on the 2024 Kentucky Derby Trail at Gulfstream, at Tampa Bay Downs, elsewhere. So an exciting race, definitely one you want to watch. As far as betting goes, who's your top pick?
Oh, just sending snarky texts. Let's see here. Top pick. in the 7th. All right, I didn't get creative here. Like I said, I felt like this was one of those sequences where I kind of like my top 3 picks are kind of chalky in a couple of these races, and so I'm going to try and see if I can be right in a couple other races where I'm going to chuck favorites and see if that makes a difference. Top pick here, I'm going to go to the 6-horse Catalytic. Look, 8-5 in the morning line. Saffy Joseph Sias picks up the mount here. I like the fact that this horse didn't have the lead early in that first race, kind of was a little bit wide, but able to then sustain it and blow by everybody going 6.5. 6.5, not an easy distance to debut at. And there is a boatload of speed in this race. So I do want someone who's going to be able to come from at least a little bit off the pace. And to me, Catalytic is that type of horse. Love me some Catalina Cruiser as well. So excited to see one of his sons here with a big time shot at being a good horse down the line.
Yep, top pick for me as well. For all the reasons you mentioned, this feels like that classic Luis Saez horse that has speed, but also can ration it or stalk a little bit. And when you ask him, it just off he goes. I mean, that when Kevin Krieger was on him and kind of just shook it at him, you just saw him like start to pick it up and like figure it out, and those ears were all perked and. Off he went running. So yeah, great debut there. You've got to love him for this spot. This is usually a kind of race Saffy will win with one of his better 2-year-olds as well. I'm for the life of me forgetting who the 2-year-old was that he had last year, who was in a very similar race, who won and had a couple spots on the Derby Trail. Didn't turn into much, but this is, at the time was supposed to be Saffy's best 2-year-old. I went too deep here. I have to reworking my ticket. Chalked out, and that's going to be kind of a theme for both of us, right? I also used the number 7 C Streak just to the outside. He's the 2-1 second choice. There's very few horses in here that like to pass if you look at their running style, right? And especially going a mile, that's a struggle. We talked about why we like the 6 because he could sit off. The 7 also showed last time off he could do that. He had a pretty wide trip early, was mid-pack, but he was able to power home. I love the fact that 4 horses have run back from that race. All 4 of them had improved speed figures in those next starts. One of them broke the maiden. 2 others hit the board. And you also got to like the fact that the barn just goes, we're going to debut him in a stakes race. And it wasn't one of those like April stakes where it's like, well, maybe half of them have started and the others are debuting. No, every horse in that race had won a race. Not only started, but had won a race. Because he was debuting. 3-1 second choice. He ends up being 2 lengths behind the winner, who was 2-5, so very much expected to win. He's 9 lengths clear of the 3rd place horse. So he's 9 lengths clear of a whole bunch of winners as a debuting maiden. To me, that really caught my attention, and I know the price is 8-5, 2-1. It's not great, but I just think this horse has got a world of potential, Mike.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, this is where I ended up. So, like I said, I'm playing a $3 ticket. I'm only going to be too deep in this leg. I'm going to be too deep in every leg except for one, actually. And this was the 5 or the 6 and the 7 for me. I couldn't find a way around these two. I agree with Doc, who said, "Does the 1 have a chance to wire?" Yeah, but I don't want to use 5-2, 8-5, and 2-1 to start off a ticket. So you kind of have to decide where you want to shorten this up. And I agree with what you said as well. Like, look, the last race I thought was more impressive. That first race, great debut effort, loved it. Nice to see in the stakes at Monmouth, but that last race, to be able to have a bad start, break from the 12 post, and still be able to beat that field handily, I thought said a lot about the horse. Won by 4.5 and was really kind of wrapped up in that spot. So I was 6-7, and then 1 was my 3rd horse. The price I liked a little bit here was the 5 horse. This is second off the break for Fausto Gutierrez. That would be my number. Like, if you want to try and play a 50-cent ticket and you want to figure out how to get a price in here, the 5 is the price for me, but I think it's going to be tough to get around the 1, 2, or the 1, 6, and 7 here, and the 6 and 7 are going to end up on the ticket for me.
I like the 5 to kind of fill out your exotics underneath. The fact he's coming out of that mile allowance race already. It was at Indiana, but it was, in 2 turns, it's still a mile. And the fact that he's going to be doing that, bringing that experience here is a plus for him. I think a lot of things have to go wrong. I think all of these horses have to be disappointing. The 1, the 6, and the 7 here. The 1 in Veiled, you got Irad jumping aboard for a barn that he's ridden for twice in the last year, but both of those horses hit the board, and one of them was a win. This is the horse that I cut off because of the odds. This is the 5-2 3rd choice, but it might be the fastest horse early, and Irad jumping aboard is a real sharp, a real big attention grabber, and was a neck behind a stakes winner last out, who went to the Remsen and just had a really horrible trip, but still was in the Remsen. Some people thought he was a contender. Did you consider the 1 at all?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is the 3rd horse for me, but you feel like the 1's going to go, the 2's going to go, the 3's going to go. Like the 5 has some speed, the 7 wants to be, or the 8 wants to be forwardly placed, and all of a sudden you're like, the 6 might be paced too. We don't really know if we're going to see a different version of the 6 going the added distance here. So when you factor all of that in, it's like, do I really want this horse at 5-2, especially with the way that I'm structuring my ticket? And to me, it just didn't make a ton of sense. I mean, if you're going to end up 4 deep here, yeah, I get it like that. And that makes sense to me that you end up using that horse. But man, it is tough to put a horse like this in there if you're going 3 deep and you're using the other 2 favorites.
All right. Excuse me about that. We got everybody that you're using, right?
Yes, I'm just going 6-7.
Just the same thing as me. All right, we'll move on. Second leg here of the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 9th, race 8. We've still got 2-year-olds. These are maidens going a mile on the turf course. You see here 12 of them, all colts that are in the field, 4 also eligibles, including 1 gelding on the outside. Again, plenty of horses that you could see, but not necessarily on the Derby Trail, but in all of those big 3-year-old turf route stakes at Gulfstream Park that start off 2024. Who's your top pick?
I went to a little bit of a price here. Give me the 6-horse Wartime Recess 8-1 on the morning line. It's a Phipps stable homebred Warfront out of Magladoro mare Sabbatical, who is a pretty good racehorse herself. This is one of those spots when Shug sends these horses down. They usually fire at Gulfstream. He's 10% first time out, but he's 14% when debuting over a mile, which is what we're going to be doing here. You get Luis Saez aboard, which I think is a positive as well. And look, I'm not going to use the 8, and this is one of those horses that I want to try and avoid. I get it's Chad Brown. You get Irad Ortiz up, so the connections are going to get bet. The first 2 races just weren't that good. And so, this is a horse where I'm going to try and beat this one. It ends up as a second choice, but to me, that was one of the ones that was rather easy to leave off when you're trying to play a little shorter of a ticket.
I didn't use this horse here. I think this is one that's going to need a couple of starts, and all positives that you mentioned in 8-1 price is good, but if you look at the Dams family, which is a lot of times where I look to see, can they win first out? The Dam needed 4 starts to break her maiden. The siblings that did get to race, one of them needed 6. One of them needed 3 starts, which was a full brother. One of them is 3 and counting, still a maiden. So there's no win right away as a 2-year-old success in there. And with it being Shug, again, you had good stats for it, but he's not someone that really just makes you excited about it. It's kind of pick your spots. You're picking this spot. I'm not going to go with that. The other horse that you used as my top pick, the number 2, Air Invasion, who's 5-2 right here. For me, I think this horse is going to get a perfect ground-saving stalking trip. The 1's probably going to go. The 4's probably going to go. A couple others probably from the way outside are going to try and get up there early. Like these stretching out from a sprint to a route, you're getting Cheminade aboard. 4 of his 8 rides for Clement in the last year were wins. I've been on Cheminade now for over a year, since Kentucky Downs 2022. Love that he's going to be hopping aboard this horse and racing at Gulfstream Park on the turf. And the winner of this horse's debut missed second by a head in the Central Park Stakes at Aqueduct next out. So another good angle there for the number 2, Air Invasion. Anything that I missed that you liked about the horse?
No, I like the stretch out too. I do think the added distance is going to be a positive here for Air Invasion. Nice sales price versus what the horse stood for. And I agree with you on Cheminade as well. I think that's one of those jockeys that you do want to be playing in these type of spots. So I just ended up going 2-6 and going 2 deep here. I did think there were a couple other interesting horses. The 10 horse Salakudish. I don't even know. This is another one. Salacious, really? That's Salacious.
That's my second pick, Salacious. Yep.
All right. Well, I'll let you talk about Salacious, and I'll talk about it.
6-1. Second choice. Debuted on synthetic sprinting. Now stretches out to routing and moves to turf. That tells me this is the plan all along. We mentioned it on Monday's show, right? That Gulfstream had their turf course kind of revitalized and brought back a new, fresh turf course. So a lot of those turf races were put on that synthetic course. That's why they built it, to give the turf course a break in the summertime. So horses that maybe when the turf course wasn't running or wasn't available that were on synthetic, now they moved to turf. That gets me excited. You look at the breeding. This should be able to handle 2 turns, right? By Tappet out of a Bertrando mare, which makes this horse a half to a multiple grade 1 turf winner named Midnight Storm. You get Reyes and D'Angelo together, 18% winners in the last year. I did use both the D'Angelo horses, the number 9 to the inside as well, but let's just focus on the 10 Salacious. I'll go back to you. What did you like about him?
For me, it was, you mentioned it, the stretch out here. I think that's huge for this horse. That 5.5 furlong synthetic effort was clearly not the overall plan, right? The plan was to stretch this horse out, especially when you have Tappet, and you mentioned the Dam as well. So for me, this was one of those spots where you could tell D'Angelo had a plan for this horse and wanted to bring this one back in this meet on this turf course. The route, if you actually watch the race, it just looks like the horse really wanted more distance. Like at 5.5 was never the plan. And so you put all of that together and you get a good spot here with the Gulfstream turf. I think it fits. My only concern around the 10 was simply where this horse is going to sit. But it showed like decent speed in that race. I mean, they went 22-1 and the horse wasn't like way out the back. So not as worried about some others in here as I am salacious to that early pace.
Yeah, I think there's enough horses in the middle that will go, and also the 11 and 12 are going to go, that the 10 will sit, probably a little bit closer than that. The horse also hit the gate coming out in the debut, but with sprinting, it's kind of bred to be a router. So a couple of those 5.5 furlong horses that were meant to go that distance probably just bolted the hell out of there. I did mention I also used the other D'Angelo horse in here, the number 9 Pet Mat at 20-1. Originally tried debuting in a turf sprint, but that got rained off at Aqueduct. Now come down here to Gulfstream Park. It got to work over the training track turf course and now shows up here. And so that excites me. It's like, all right, they had the horse in the mud. They said, let's check the turf again, make sure, okay, yep, no, this is the right move. We're going to enter the horse in this spot. And, between the 9 and the 10, the D'Angelo barn is won 19% at Gulfstream Park in the last year overall. So the barn's doing well. You have a capable rider in Javion Toledo, who usually rides up more on the Northeast circuit, but I don't know if he's down here for the meet or if he's just down here for because it gets really freaking cold at Laurel Park right now. But Toledo, a good rider here. So I used the 9, and then also another 20-1 shot, the 7, Oscars World for Brian Lynch. This horse is debuting, and Brian Lynch doesn't have great first-time starter stats, and he doesn't connect that often with Perez riding. But the breeding says this horse could win early, by Oscar Performance out of an Uncle Mo mare. So win early on both sides there. And I really like that he had that really sharp time at Churchill Downs in early November on the dirt, going a minute flat. But then they came down to Florida and went right to that training turf course and decided, no, we still want to make sure this horse can handle turf. And from that, decided, okay, we're gonna go on to the turf race for this horse. And by the way, let's do one more gate work, 48-4. So not too bad. I like these horses at 20-1 as well. And you're gonna say, well, I'm not gonna talk you off a 20-1 shot.
Well, I think they both make sense. I mean, Pet Mat I thought was a little higher than I expected. If the 10 6-1, it felt like the 9 should be like 12-1. So I was pretty surprised that one was 20-1. Only shot on the Lynch horse was the debut over a mile is worse than the debut going overall, but it's not a huge difference,
also not
right?
good.
10% and 8%. So it's like, okay, whatever. Not going to like overly knock that spot. Did you look at the 4 Halton at all?
Yeah, for Mike Maker, I just was with this one. I wasn't sure what kind of trip he was going to get because the one time that he was forwardly placed, he had a shot, but the other times when he wasn't, and it was all on dirt, he just didn't have a shot. So if he's engaged early, I think he doesn't have a chance because they'll burn out. I just don't see how he gets a winning trip.
Yeah, my big concern was the look. It drew the inside the last 3 races. Only showed speed in one of those 3 races. That was a New York turf race where they went 51 to the half. Right. And that's like, we're not going 51 to the half here, and you're not drawing inside. So I'm not sure how the 4 makes the lead. The horse that did draw the inside, Izzy de Oro, 30-1. I think there are worse shots if you want to take a crazy price in this spot. That to me was like, okay, you go in that first race, this debut race. If you're debuting at 1 1/8, which is all right. Okay, that's a decision. The horse showed a ton of speed and kind of quit after the 6 furlong mark. We're only going a mile here. And you look at the works, show a bunch of speed. I don't really know who's going to make the lead if it's not the one in here. Like there are worse. Again, I'm not spreading like crazy in this sequence, but if I was, someone like the 1 would be a horse I would use.
I also want to bring up the fact that Carrama we were discussing. What? What'd you say? Now
you're back. You were muted for a second.
I was fine. Oh, no, I was good. Mute wasn't on. Anyway, what I was going to say, sorry, we brought up before, you brought up that Christophe Clement, when he has Ship's horses and Dylan Davis goes with him, look out for those. Like, he's kind of the assassin that travels. And we're trying to figure out who, if Joel Rosario is going to be in California this winter, who's going to be taking over for Clement. Carl Ramrod brings up Cheminad's become an assassin for Clement, multiple tracks, winning for him at 5+1 to odds over the last few weeks. So another reason to really like the number 2 Air Invasion there. You brought up the number 8 Midnight Council. This is a Chad Brown horse, 7-2. Irad Ortiz Jr. riding. It's a 2-year-old maiden race at Gulfstream Park on the turf. You should think this is a spot we want to like, but we've seen 2 races from this horse and 2 times that I went, I don't know why you didn't win. So that's why I'm against this horse. It's going to be way too overbet.
Yeah, I mean, 7-2 probably going to be bet down from that number. I wasn't overly impressed with either of the races this horse ran. Like when you go back and you watch it, you're like, meh. We've talked about like the Browns debuting at Monmouth, generally not his best turf horses. Then goes to Aqueduct, so like we completely skipped really the more difficult New York meets and went to the weaker New York meets, and it's just like, all right. Like I'm not going to get excited about this horse at what's going to probably be a short price with a horse that's, if it wants to be forwardly placed, it's going to have to sit 2-3 wide on the first turn. And like if it's going to come from the back, it's not who you want at Gulfstream anyway.
Mm-hmm. Rob brings up the 11 in a jam. For me, it's a horse that the post is going to compromise. I think it's a speed horse. I like the connections and I like what they're trying to do, but I think they just got hurt by that post draw.
Yeah, the post is pretty tough for the 11. The 12's a little interesting. Did you look at the 12 at all?
I had the same thought. It was that the post was going to be the problem ultimately for the 12. But Velasquez is riding for Lynch, and it is the shorter priced of the two Lynches.
Yeah, 4 straight turf horses, $450 horse or $450,000 horse, so expensive horse as well. It didn't like. There's an excuse you can say around the slop, and that this one's going to take to the turf a little bit. So like, don't think the 12 is crazy here either. Like this is, if you're looking for the leg that is going to produce a price, this is the leg that I'm expecting it to come from.
Just remember, both trying to beat the Chad Brown horse. Third leg of the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 9th. Race number 9. We've got 9 males. Wow, lots of 9s here. 9 males, 3 and up, routing a mile and a 16th on the synthetic course. This is the starter / optional claiming level. 2 turns on synthetic. It was the death knell for us in the pick 5 that happened today, Thursday, December 7th. Where are you going in this spot?
I am going to single in my $3 ticket here. Look, we're going to fly that W again. This is one of those like really cool,
my boy
horses. Like just always runs in these $20,000 allowances, right? And it just has dominated the synthetic horse. If you look at it, 10 wins in 21 starts, has beaten multiple horses in here multiple times. I felt like you had to try and get around the 3 Tis Romantic in this spot, and like so, I had no interest in using that horse. Fly the W should get a really nice trip here. There's enough speed that should be able to sit just off it. You get Luis Saez back aboard. He's won multiple times on this horse already. And this just screams like Fly the W is going to get the right trip. And he is a very good horse as well. That's the other part of this. Like he likes to win. So I'm going to single up Fly the W here.
I love this horse. I love every time that we get to go to Gulfstream. I'm like, is Fly the W racing? Is he going to be in that? Well, always. Okay, so here's the thing. What I think is funny, it's like they're writing races for him, like for this horse, because there's like he's very durable, right? And they'll just like, and shit, and people will keep running against him. You can beat him. It's hard to do. DeBona got him for $10,000 October 2022. Since then, 12 starts on the synthetic, 7 wins, a second, 4 thirds, never off the board, never lost by more than a length and a quarter. This horse is just like printing money, and I love that DeBona's never had to risk him again, but also never get him out of that starter allowance level. There's enough horses that just keep showing up. God bless him.
It's crazy how they wrote this. Where like because he was claimed for the price he was claimed for, he can run in these forever and not have to be claimed.
Yeah, like, it's claiming price of 12.5 or less, which he was claimed for 10K since December of 2021. So he still has another year.
So he's just going to hang out at this level literally for like the next 12 months. It's crazy. I mean, he ran 11 times last year. He ran 12 times in 2022. He hit the board in all 11 races last year.
They're gonna and by the way, Chris Mallow in the live chat is just singing the Go Cubs Go song, which is pretty funny. I did use
what do you say?
I did use the 3 Tis Romantic. He is the 9-5 second choice, so again chalky, but my favorite local connections here is Safi and Edgar Zayas. They won 25% together in the last year, and since Safi claimed this horse for 20K, all 3 starts I thought would be good enough to be in this and at least beat or compete with Fly the W. And he's taken a class drop. All 3 of those starts were optional claimers. He was in for that optional tag, but he was facing several allowance horses as well. Now he's back down to the starter allowance level. So I think it's a good spot for him. But again, from a price perspective, I understand why you wouldn't use the 3 and the 7.
Yeah, and there's just a little bit too much other speed in here, right? Where if like the 3 I thought could really shake loose, and I think the 4 Veterans Beach is probably going to push him. If the 3 could really shake loose, I'd be a little more interested in the 3. But I think you're going to get some pressure, and I think Fly the W is going to be close enough that he's going to be able to run him down. I did like if I wasn't playing the ticket style, I was the 5 and the 6. I thought were both interesting to me. Starship Wizard and Uncle Armando. Starship Wizard 4-year-old that just kind of keeps getting better, but is now turning from state bred to open company, which I'm a little concerned about. And then Uncle Armando has races that are good enough to compete with these, just not as consistent as someone like Fly the W.
Yeah, the 6 Uncle Armando is if you wanted to go too deep, but didn't want to play the 2 shortest prices, this is the one I would switch in for Tis Romantic. I rat hopping aboard, and the horse crushed over this course and distance last out by almost 3 lengths. It's against 20K claimers, but this isn't exactly a stupendous group that he's coming in to face. So I can see why you would use this, but also I rat hopping aboard here of a last out big winner. I don't know what you're getting anywhere close to 6-1 either.
Yeah. And the other one, and someone just mentioned this in the chat here. Where is it? Rob just mentioned it. The 2 Bryce Canyon. This one was the other one where I thought was kind of interesting because if you look back, there are synthetic races. First off, has beaten Fly the W, and there are synthetic races that win this race. I just don't trust this horse is in that form right now. And to me, that was the biggest issue, is that we'd have to repeat kind of that career best or career second best effort. And we haven't been anywhere near that. Whereas leading up to that effort, you could kind of see it coming, right? I mean, was claimed out of the Toner barn, came back and ran that career effort, but the race before it was close to as good as the race that we were claimed out of. Since we came back off the layoff, and yeah, 3 of them are turf, only 1 synthetic, not even close to as good. Now, it may just be a Gulfstream synthetic thing with this horse too. Bryce Canyon 3 for 6 over this track, 3 for 8 at the distance. So 12-1, not a terrible price on the 2.
I feel like the 2 would do a lot better as somewhere like Tampa. Like, I get why they're here because Laurel and Colonial don't have turf racing for the winter, but Gulfstream's not just spot for. I think the 2 would be have a really great chance to win. I think you look at that starter allowance race 4 back at Laurel on the turf. Like, go find a spot like that at Tampa. I think you have a better chance because the horse has just kind of gone backwards since got claimed off of Toner. Race number 10. This is the penultimate leg of the Gulfstream Park late pick 5 on Saturday, December 9th. Race number 10. We have 10. Man, the numbers are matching up with the race again. 10 fillies and mares, 3 sprinting, 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. 9 of these horses are Florida breds running at the N1X level. The 2 is, still Florida bred, but decided to be in for the 20K tag here. We have the same exact 2 horses we're using. Did we use them in the same exact order?
Well, let's find out. I put the 3-horse Nick's Style on top here for Ralph Nix, which, by the way, we talked about this before. Like, it's kind of relevant when there is a name thing. Oh, nice thumbs up with the little graphic there. When trainers or owners have a horse that's named after them and then they end up showing out in the first race, it generally means they're going to be pretty good. This is one of those where I would 100% guarantee you the horse is named after the trainer, since it's Nick's Style. This looks like a horse that just is good. I mean, you look at the debut effort. You go back and you watch it. The jockey was just wildly confident. Alvarado on him, he never thought he had a loser. Nix takes the horse, has a long layoff. Not sure why that happened, but comes back. Nix is 35% off these layoffs. $2.77 ROI. This is clearly your fastest horse, and what a field usually in these fields you see a ton of speed. There's just not in this spot. This seems like it's a field that's actually kind of lacking speed. So I think the 3's got a very good chance of going gate to wire here.
Same top pick for me as well. Yeah, I don't even really care about the fact she's a 583-day layoff. Not a whole lot longer you can come from a layoff like that. That's crazy there. But you look at the steady work pattern since the end of September. So you've got that going for her. And then it's also kind of a weak field, right? You look at who else is around here. It's not really the toughest. It's great that she came in before the January, February, because then she'd be in a world of hurt. Because then all the Browns and Pletchers, the Motts, they're all starting to come around, and then you're in a big trouble there. But yeah, no, great spot here for her. I love that Alvarado's going to keep them out. What odds do we actually get? Because 5-2 on debut, and it was a long time, but a smashing debut looks like he's really going to be lone speed.
Yeah,
9-2, 2-1.
I think she's the favorite, right?
Yeah.
And right now the 6 and the 8 are the 2 favorites. I don't think the 6 should be 3-1. I think the 8 should probably be your morning line favorite, but I think the Nick Style ends up around 5-2, 3-1, somewhere in that range. You kind of have co-favorites with the 8 Gervin girl.
Well, we're not using either the 6 or the 8, so that's good. The other horse we're both using is the 5-1 fourth choice, and really not expecting her to be contending for favoritism here. The number 4 Steel Racer broke this maiden going a 1.5 turn mile at Ellis Park, exits a 7 furlong win at Churchill Downs. That tells me this 6.5 furlong distance is going to be perfect for her. Getting Luis Saez back aboard makes the first start for the new trainer, Johnny Ortiz. And both wins, yeah, they came versus claimers, but I like that she was a Florida bred competing in Kentucky against much tougher horses than what she's going to be she could have been facing at Gulfstream Park against Florida breds. Like, that was a much tougher group that she was facing in Kentucky, even if she's in for those claiming tags.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a lateral step at worst, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Ain't Broke, pretty good horse. Ran against that one at the $75,000 level there a couple times back at Churchill Downs. I like the fact that Ortiz takes over. One of those trainers, when he takes over a horse, I'll look at them quite a bit more. I look, Medina, not a bad trainer, but like, to me, Ortiz has the ability to make horses step forward a lot of the times. I love the fact that Saez picks up the mount, especially because the last time he rode this horse, the horse wasn't great. It was at 1 1/16 at Keeneland, ran in 5th that day by 10 lengths. Saez back aboard tells me he thinks there's some talent here. And the cutback to me is a huge part of this. This is one of those, we talk about it a lot, where it's the course that's going long that's shown speed that's now cutting back to 1 turn again. I think that this 1 turn distance probably what we want to do. If you look at those races, Ellis is a 1 turn mile, Churchill's a 1 turn 7 furlongs. I think Steel Racer wants 6.5, 7 furlongs at the most. And this today is the setup where you have enough speed that it could set up well for Steel Racer to be moving the best late, but you shouldn't be way out of it either because of the speed you've been able to show at 1 turn races.
I would go 3 deep in here. It'd be the horse that Dennis brought up, the number 5 Sylvia Via's Heroes, 12-1, so good price here for Steve Dwoskin owned and trained filly. It took her 6 starts to break the maiden, but she did it 2 back, going 7 furlongs here over this dirt course. And last time out was a big falter, but it was first time facing winners, and it just kind of was a mess of a start for her. So I'm willing to scratch that off second time versus winners and cutting back a little bit. And you also have to like the only other time she's hit the board, it was going to 7 furlongs again on this trek. So 6.5 should be a good distance, but I'm just not convinced she's good enough to beat both the 3 and the 4.
Yeah, I looked at the 5. I didn't end up getting there just because you really got to go pretty deep to find a race where she can compete with these horses. And like, that to me was a big reason why I just ended up with the 3 and 4 here. I just, maybe they both aren't good. And in that case, someone else wins. But if either of them is good, it seems like one of the two almost has to win this race. Because I'm not a big fan of the 6 and 8. The 10 horse was my 3rd horse in here, Major Price. And like, horse isn't very good either. Like, you're pointing at claiming races, $20,000 claimers that make you think that the 10 can compete with this group. And like, there should be someone who is better than that in this group. So yeah, for me, it was just 3-4. And I really did not like many others in here.
Well, good stats on the trainer Herman Walensky as well for small sample sizes, but 26% on the year and 31% in the last year at Gulfstream Park for Walensky. So yeah. If you want to go deeper, not a bad way to go, but I'm with you. 3 and 4, the way to handle that one. The 5th and final leg of the Late Pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 9th, race 11, the feature event. And this is the Pulpit Stakes, $100,000 purse for 11 2-year-old males going 7.5 furlongs is such a stupid distance when you can do a mile on the turf course going 2 turns here. Lots of horses you could see become big stars as 3-year-olds on the turf at Gulfstream and even at Churchill Downs on Derby weekend. Who you got on top?
Yeah, it's funny because they also have a run up at the 7.5, so it's almost a mile anyway. Because
they're doing a mile.
Yeah, so why don't we just put it at a mile and not start the gate a little bit closer? Anyway, whatever. I thought this was an interesting race. I'm gonna try and beat Noted here, the 8. I respect what Noted was able to do in the Bourbon, but you also you were set up by a pretty nice pace, and the horses that were fared well early didn't fare so well late, and that kind of leads me to my top pick here, who also ran in the Bourbon. I'm gonna go with the 3 horse, double your money, 6-1, Brian Lynch, Junior Alvarado aboard. That was a kind of brutal race for that horse, and it doesn't look bad, but when you go back and you watch the race, it was pretty much 3 wide the entire time trying to make the lead. That's not a good thing to do at Keeneland. That ends poorly, and that's exactly what happened for this horse going 1 16th. We cut back from 1 16th to 7.5 furlongs, and I realize the 1 is shown speed, so maybe the 1 kind of throws a wrench in my plan here, but I think the 3 has a pretty good chance of taking this field gate to wire at a pretty decent number.
Yeah, I passed on the 3 because of the 1, and Doc actually brings up he likes the 1 prevent wire to wire of 15-1. I between that, the 10 and the 11, if either one of them can get over with that giant ass run up, that they could prevent the gate to wire spot too. A decent horse, and I agree with you. The Bourbon was a tough spot. This is definitely a class drop, but I think how that race ended is a little bit how I see that ending here, where just kind of getting jostled around late in the stretch and maybe getting 4th or something like that. But that's about it for me. Top pick. So we've been in almost full agreement every step of the way. And then this one, we only agree on 1 horse, and I went 4 deep. And it's not an agreement on the number 5 Palm Tree, but 3-1 horse is my top pick in here. First time gelding for Brendan Walsh, Luis Saez, a huge jockey. Wait, I do my Pete. Luis Saez, huge jockey upgrade. First time gelding, like I said, he's going to be more aerodynamic here, first time out here. If you watch that Bourbon stretch run, this horse was in step with Noted, but he had to slam on the brakes hard near the 16th pole. Declan Cannon did his best. Joel Rosario watched me drive a horse up someone else's ass move in the stretch and just had nowhere to go. But I thought this horse was running really well. Just slammed on the brakes. And so because Noted was right there at the wire and this horse was moving with him, I'm going to use him. I did use Noted as well. He's back on turf after he tried the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And I get trying to beat him. He's 9-5 favorite. He's going to take a ton of money. But you could look at the fact and say, well, why did he try the Breeders' Cup Juvenile instead of the turf if he was going to be better on turf? Well, 1, his only stakes win was on dirt, and Pletcher said that. 2, did you see the Juvenile turf? There's no way in hell that anybody from America was winning that race, right? But the Juvenile, Fierceness won 15-1. Like, it was the right connections. It was Pletcher. It was Rapoli. This wasn't the horse that did it. I rad picked the wrong one, but still, it happened. So I like that. And also, he beat the future Remsen winner Dornoch in that dirt stakes. So Noted's got a ton of talent. He's just going to be a super short price.
Yeah, and that to me was the thing. Yeah, I couldn't take a short price here on a horse where I had the 5/3, so I agree with you on Palm Tree over Noted as well. Like I'd rather have the 5 at a better price, and I thought that race was just as good on the turf as Noted's was. Noted to me is just one of those horses where either you love him and you're singling him here and you think he's going to air, or you're not using him, right? And that kind of is the way I approach this. Palm Tree is the horse I'm scared of here. If I added one more horse in this entire sequence, it would be Palm Tree, because I could see a world where Palm Tree just eats them up down the lane, and that's the difference. The horse that I used as the second in for me was Liam's Journey, the 2 horse here for Maker and John Velasquez. Still a maiden, so that's always interesting, but you're getting a nice price here, 9-2. They love this horse. I mean, you can just tell based on the way that they have kind of handled it. So ran at Ellis Park, ran into restricted maiden sprint. That was clearly just a prep for the Kentucky Downs meet, where you have a much more expensive maiden special weight. Goes for $157,000, ends up running second there, then goes over to the Grade 2 Pilgrim without breaking the maiden. I thought ran a pretty good race in that, ends up running third to Arrogant Road. This is just a horse that should project to get a really nice trip. So if you think the 1's going, if you think the 3 is going, the 2 has enough tactical speed to kind of sit right there in behind them and just be able to pocket up and get first run on these leaders. I think the 2 just gets a dream trip in this spot. And for me, the big question is, and Doc mentioned the 1 prevent going wire to wire and the synth over to turf. And yeah, that definitely makes a difference. I think this is a different world of level of races. I mean, went 25.50 on the synth. They're going to have to go a lot faster than that on the turf. We'll see if we actually see the speed to be able to get out there. But I think Liam's Journey just trips out here and sits right behind the 2 horses who project to have any speed in this spot and is able to just kind of make first run. And if you're good enough, you make the lead, you win the race. If you're not good enough, then the 3 double your money holds on and you get 6-1 on it.
This was the last horse, the number 2, to make my ticket, and I watched the race from the Pilgrim, and I didn't love how he kind of accelerated, because he definitely had the jump on Agate Road, who was the winner, and he got a ground-saving trip, and Agate Road had to go wide, but it was his first time trying 2 turns, and you're right, they liked this horse so much, he actually was going to be in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile turf, and then they scratched him out of it. He was a vet scratch, but he wasn't also eligible. Like, he was in the race, and Carson's run was farther out. Like, Liam's Journey was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile turf and just didn't end up getting to run. So yes, they very much like this horse. Got to use it. If Maker beats me in a race, like, I'm a huge Mike Maker fan, that would just piss me off to no end. So like I said, I went 4 deep. I've got the 3-1. I've got the 9-5. I've got the 9-2. Might as well go with another short price, right? Nope, wrong. We're going to go with number 4, Reminder, 12-1. Jose D'Angelo, the trainer. Boy, I'm really betting on D'Angelo on this card. Don't let me down, Jose. Edgar Zayas rides this horse back for the 3rd straight time. Last time out, I thought it had pretty much better than it looked 3rd. The top 2 finishers went 1-2 the entire way around. As you like to say, that's really something that's hard to do. So if you can do it, good. You must be pretty good. Very slow fractions. This is the only horse in the entire race that was able to gain some ground on them. And it was his first time facing winners. Zayas rode him to a 4-length victory pretty much, going 2 turns on the synthetic. I really think this is where the horse was supposed to be meant for, was the turf. They just was coming along and there was nowhere to run a Florida bred on the turf throughout the summer. So I like this horse. I love the price. And coming out of that stakes race on the synthetic first time versus winners, I think he's well prepared for this at 12-1, Mike.
Yeah, he's going to need to keep improving, right? $185,000 son of Audible. Do you think this one's going to keep getting better? Lost the 11 in the first start. That was a sprint over the synthetic, though. So you think that the 2 turns makes a difference, and that's a positive. We know how much you like Zayas, so don't hate that one at a price. Did you look at the 7 General Ledger at all?
I did, yeah. He's interesting. His first time trying synthetic, but it was turf, but it was a Saffy horse that was on dirt 3 times. Last out, just completely bombed in a Florida bred stakes race, but with the breeding by Summerfront, it wouldn't surprise me if this horse took to the turf. Zayas is on the 4, so I didn't really give him that much of a look.
Yeah, it was the Summerfront thing to me was like, hey, maybe this horse is probably better on turf than on the dirt just because of the breeding. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there when they actually take the turf. I think it's probably going to be tough for this spot, but one of those horses where if it runs, it's going to end up in my stable when we get a little easier spot to be able to play on the turf.
One last horse I see that Dennis has said if I was going with a price, thoughts on the 10 speed horse when gate to wire. Laurel is tough and proven to be good on grass. Is 20-1, so we're not going to say that. But first, your thoughts on the horse, but also which is harder to pronounce, Mike? The horse's name of the 10 or the name of the jockey that rode it the last 5 times? Tokayo, maybe? I thought it was Takayo until just right now. It's Tokayo.
Tokayo isn't that tough.
My woman from Tokayo.
La Pustina?
Leah Pustina.
Leah Pustina? That's like 2 names. Yeah, interesting.
Anyways,
yeah, I don't like the post with the combination of needing the speed. That to me was the issue there. Like I don't see a world where the 10 clears, and I don't see a world where the 10 is able to be 2 or 3 wide and win the race. Yeah,
and also a huge jump up from Laurel Park allowance races from the fall. Yeah, I go for it there.
Any interest in the 11 at all? Akiro?
No. I think this horse, combination of the post and talent, just doesn't really have a shot.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't big on it either. Another one that it feels like you're going to end up flung wide on that first turn because we're going 7.5.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to talk about the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 9th, races 7 through 11. If you are listening on the podcast, we'll give out our tickets one last time. If you're watching on YouTube, take a look down below. It's right there as well. I'll go ahead first. I'm going to go 6-7 with 2-7-9-10. With 3-7, with 3-4, with 2-4, 5-8, $64 per 50 cents, Mr. Somich.
I'm going to play a little bit different style ticket. I'm just going to play a $3 ticket here. Go 6-7 with 2-6, with 7, with 3-4, with 2-3. That'll be $48 for $3.
Over at racingdudes.com, it's Mike Somich's favorite day of the year tomorrow. It's opening day at Oaklawn Park, Friday, December 8th.
Can't wait for the
I'm sorry, I said Mike Somich. I meant Aaron Halterman.
Oh, I thought you were just being mocking.
I was mocking, yes. Yes, I was. Yeah. No, Aaron's excited. We're excited. Mike, not so much until they open up the turf course again. But we've got previews for this big stakes races this weekend. There's one Friday, 2 on Saturday, and then also the Starlet Stakes, Kentucky Oaks prep race. Bob Baffert trying to win his record 7th straight and 10th overall, and he's got 2 horses in there. Really hoping Shadowless can stop the Baffert train. Really don't think it's going to happen.
Did you hear about the big announcement from Churchill today?
No. What now? The Derby's being moved to Ellis?
No. They have a new hire. They hired Oaklawn's turf guy to fix their turf course.
Jesus, they might as well. I mean, Send him to. He did such a good job at fairgrounds. You might as well send him there.
I can't believe that they let the Colonial guy go. The only person in the whole company that knows how to handle a turf course, they let go.
That's classic CDI though, is what that is.
Unbelievable.
Speaking of the racing dudes, of course, with the Gulfstream Thursday show, you don't need to worry about that. But due to Bet Sports, you got free NFL picks and college football rants. That show's coming up in 11 minutes from now live. So at 5 Central, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. And then just before us, Blinkers Off decided to do the fantasy draft while we were live. So we couldn't watch for any collusion, Mike. But apparently we drew pick number 11. There's 11 teams because now Dr. Miranda and Dr. Tang are a team. So now there's 11 teams because 10 was not enough. We do 10 for years. And I mean, I could have voted on a couple of different people that we should have just let go and then let them come in. But, whatever. Aaron still seems to like those people.
Can we change their team name to a doctor and a degenerate? And
also Miranda.
And not tell anyone which is which.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's good. A doctor, a degen, and also Ronald.
Yeah, and then Ronald Tang. And then a guy who throws ridiculous birthday parties, right?
My goodness, those... Okay, so that was a good one, but then... Well, I told you about the one the next weekend. The scenery was a little better at the one I went to, but Doc had the better food. The In-N-Out truck, you'll always win my heart with an In-N-Out truck. I did want to also bring up something, because I like pick 11 for this, right? Because we're on the horn, so we'll get picks 11 and 12. So if we can't decide between one, we got a couple, and also we can just sit there and dick around for 99% of the show instead of 98% of the show. So that helps as well. But do you like pick number 11?
I feel like it evens the playing field, to be honest. I mean, now other people have, so I'm okay with it.
Somebody said, yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited about that. Also, because if it's not Fierceness, I believe, has to be the first overall pick. But then after that,
I hate fifth. I hate sixth. Right? Like those seem because then you end up with one good horse, and then you're just taking 4 shots. Like at 11, 12, at least you feel like you have 2 horses that you can draft that you feel like you have a general idea of what they're going to do moving forward. Versus when you end up with the 5th or 6th spot, you're just like, oh, I'm going to take this horse, and hopefully this one just carries you, right?
I would like to, I just realized I would like to remind everybody, the last time the Magic Mike Show picked 11th overall, Epicenter. Thank you very much. So probably not going to have another Epicenter this year, but we'll see what we can do there. But anyways, over at racenews.com, we've got the previews for all of the big stakes races at Oaklawn and in LaSalle. I guess we'll call that a big stakes. And, of course, previews for Gulfstream Park. It sucks that the Way to Wild Stakes wasn't in this sequence. That's for the 2-year-old fillies on turf, but we have a preview for that over on the site as well. Anything else you're looking forward to this weekend, Mike?
You know what? Not really. I mean, it's kind of a lot. It's football's not great this weekend. We don't have any more college football. You talked about all the horse racing I'm looking forward to already. I'm a little interested in the NBA in-season basketball tournament, which has already started somehow. I didn't even realize they were playing NBA at 2:00 in the afternoon on the West Coast. The finals are on Saturday in Vegas, so that'll be kind of fun. There's a lot of people I know in Vegas this weekend, actually. I've got a lot of DMs for people, so hopefully I get to see some friends out there. Well, apparently people went from the Racing Symposium up to Las Vegas.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so there are some people that I know that are going there. Do we want to talk about the Racing Symposium at all, or do you just want to leave that one alone?
Was there anything worthwhile? Is that where they announced the Saratoga Belmont thing, which is, I think, a good thing, and that's all that needs to be said?
No, they have panels that talk about different issues in the
I
sport.
didn't know if there was something specific about it that you wanted to talk about.
It's just funny to me that you send the same 50 people to try and solve the same problem they couldn't solve a year prior to the same place and charge $700 for everyone to go there.
It's the same 50 people that were at the Breeders' Cup draw that had paid $700 to get into that stupid bullshit.
It's just guys, we're just spinning a wheel here. What are we doing? Anyway.
That's Grace. Yeah.
It's just kind of ridiculous to me. It's okay, we'll keep hearing the same people's opinions on the same things, and we'll assume it's going to change. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, listen, we're happy that you joined us for this one. Nothing will go wrong when you watch the Magic Mike Show and spend more time with us. We'll be back next week, Monday, for probably another midweek pick 5. If there's any track or sequence carryover that you want us to target, let us know. You can always contact us on Twitter or X. I am at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Make sure you check out VSIN on YouTube for this guy's beautiful mug right here. Talk about football Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 4 p.m. is your start time those 3 days?
Friday 2 to 3 Pacific, 5 to 6 Eastern, and then Saturday and Sunday 4 to 7 Pacific, 7 to 10 Eastern.
Boom, there you go. Hope to see you there. Hope to see you back here on Monday and over at racingnews.com. We've got free picks for every race, every track, every day across the country, and the Somobombs again by this guy right here. Until Monday, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by racingdudes.com.